Hi there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whatever time you're getting to see this video. Last week Friday we began a new series and we're talking about godly heritage. So today I am going to talk about the faith, not the faith as in the faith, but the heritage of faith. Yes, please. All right. My emphasis: family, teenagers. All right, parents. All right, how to be better one, how to enjoy their teenage children when they are teenagers, because a lot of time people make you look like teenagers are one very funny rebellious people who are curious. Yeah and they forget that their curiosity can be good and it can be bad. Do you know that one of the most interesting things that Jesus had to do was that in his journey on the earth, he did most part of it as a teenager. Then the last part of his life and ministry, he did as you know, an adult, right? A youth or a man, whatever you want to call it. All right, okay, so youth. Let's leave it at that. But and then we're talking about godly heritage. So I'm talking about heritage of faith. So as a parent, you want to raise your children where they can believe God, especially a Christian home. If you are a Christian parent, you're listening to this right now, your children should be able to pray the heart, pray your heart to the tune of God for their life. Because many times parents can be sentimental, which is not a bad thing, but they forget that there's God who created them and created their children, and God who did that has plan and purpose for their lives. Which means that many times if parents are not aligned to the will of God, to the plan of God, to the purpose of God for their own life, it will be difficult for their own children, right? So a dear minister, I came across a teaching he was doing, and then I heard him said something how that he teaches his children to believe God for things. Right. So there are times that children come and then they say that, daddy, we need maybe a bicycle or we need a t-shirt or we need something. And then it's like, we don't have a budget for this right now, but don't worry, we can believe God for it together. And at the end of the day, the children are not disappointed because the needs usually are met outside the budget, because supply will always come that is above the budget to take care of their basic need. Now imagine a child or imagine your children or your child as a teenager learning to believe God for things. You would have successfully learned how to take their attention away from the wrong people, the wrong places to get their needs met. Youth today were growing up and then we're seeing people do a lot of stuff just because they want to have their needs met. They forget that their needs can be met by God as much as the wrong way. And when we say our needs can be met by God, of course, we understand that God will use men. God does not have currency in heaven. All right. God will use people. His people. God will give to us because his people respond to him. All right. If his people refuse to respond to him, our needs will not be met unless God now decide to use raven like he did for Elijah. Of course, we have seen a donkey talk before, but come on, God would rather use men than use animals. It will be that worst case scenario, men have refused and refused. Then he will send angels who will come in human form, all right, who will take up a human form, all right. But majorly, God's method are men, all right. So every of our needs that God will meet on this life is with men. He's men, people that obey, people that will listen to him, all right. So back to the gist. Yeah. So he has taught his teenage children how to believe God for things. Now you're wondering as a parent, what if I'm very wealthy? So I don't need my children to pray to God for me to meet their needs. Okay. Meeting our needs is not the only thing we need faith for. One day would you want to be a parent that every time your child complains that mommy headache, mommy stomach, next you are saying, let's go to the hospital. Or you are going to be that parent that will say, have you prayed about it? I tell people I have been privileged to lead young people for a really long time, more than a decade now. And one of the things I've been consistent with is to always send them back to God. And the reason I do that is because I want to build their faith, one, and I want to build a personal relationship. I want them to have a personal relationship with Jesus. So I remember a teenager coming to meet me concerning his dad, that his dad is this, his dad is that, and I told her, go and pray about it. I could have given her a lot of counsel. Sometimes I give counsel that I will still end up saying, go and pray, because there is the wisdom of God in our lives when he gave us the Holy Ghost. There is an intention. God had the wisdom, God had the plan. Why he gave us the Holy Ghost single-handedly. He did not say only the leaders of the church should have Holy Ghost. No, even the members, the list of the members, if there's anything like that, has the same Holy Ghost. My pastor will always say that if you are greater than me, it's not because you are more powerful than I am, it's because you have more revelation or more understanding in your operation with the Holy Ghost than I do. And that's it, because the highest gift of God, after God has given us salvation, is the spirit within. And that spirit, which is our seal of salvation, right, is all that God will deal and do with us. So if you as a parent don't learn to send your kids or your teenager or teach them how to have faith in God, listen, that I'm having a headache, have you prayed about it? Oh yeah, you come, let me pray for you now. If they've not learned how to pray for themselves, teach them how to pray for teach them to pray, or you pray for them until they learn how to pray for themselves. See, parenting is very intentional, and I believe you know that. And one of the most intentional way to do parenting is to do it God's way, and God's way is his word way, and his word way is the spirit way. You have to be a parent that must have a personal relationship with Jesus first before your children can ride on your shoulders. All right, it's in this part of the world that, of course, maybe it's everywhere, where some children are more spiritual than their parent. Of course, it's bad, yeah, but it will not be bad as well that parents are spiritual and their children are taking after them in serving the Lord. I have seen parents become hindrances to their children, all right, and yet when I mean hindrance to them serving God, or not even juju, yeah, because they don't even know much. So if you are going to be a parent that will have a godly heritage, as touching the faith or the Christian faith, as little practice as believing God for things, for our health, for the right relationship in our lives or the lives of our teenagers. See, you have to practice faith first as a parent. Then let them see you practice faith. In your practicing, teach them how to practice faith. Let your children be able to believe God for healing. Let them be able to believe God for supply. Let them be able to believe God for the power of God. All right. They would come times in their life they will need deliverance, mighty deliverance, and they don't have faith in the power of God. How would they see deliverance? How? If they don't have faith for discernment, how would they be able to discern right from wrong, or godly relationship and wrong relationship? Or how would they be able to have the wisdom of choice where there's no discernment? So as a parent, I'm admonishing that you walk by faith, not in secret. Walk by faith in the open. Open would mean before your children, so they too can follow your footstep and walk by faith. When you have need, even till you can even have all your supplies and still ask God, show faith that God will give you direction, maybe for preservation or for multiplication and all. We can believe God, and we can teach our teenage children how to believe God, so that in doing so, we are preserving the faith in our home first. Because if faith is preserved in our life, it has to extend to our children. And then our children is not at large, not because our family is preserving the faith. Then our generations, people that are coming after us, will be preserved as well in the faith. I hope this has blessed you. We'll look next week, Friday, we're talking about the heritage of the spirit. All right. God has blessed you. Have a good day. For now is bye.